Welcome to Action Research. By the end of this video, you should be able to define action research, know the benefits associated with action research, know the characteristics, know the strengths and limitations, and how can one conduct action research in the classroom. O'Leary defines action research as research strategies that tackle real-world problems in participatory, collaborative, and cyclical ways in order to produce both knowledge and action. It is a research methodology that works towards a change. That change can be social or professional in nature. Because this methodology's goal is oriented towards change rather than knowledge gathering alone, action research studies are often based on everyday issues and concern themselves with the creation of practical solutions to these problems. Elements of action research include planning, action, observation, and reflection. This cycle includes identifying a problem, researching the problem and its probable causes, developing a response to the problem, implementing the proposed solutions, observing the implementation of the solution, and reflecting on the result. The difference between traditional and action research being with the who, where, why, and how. University professors, scholars, and graduate students perform experimental research while teachers and principals perform research based on the children in their classroom. Traditional research is conducted within a controlled environment while action research is conducted in schools and classrooms. Traditional research most commonly uses quantitative methods to show statistical significance and cause-effect relationships between variables. Action research most commonly uses qualitative methods to understand and describe what is happening within the classroom based on educational interventions. Finally, traditional research allows researchers to publish results and conclusions that can be used to generalize a large population, while action research allows researchers to help create a positive educational change in a particular school environment. Action research can create positive improvements in the classroom by allowing educators to collaborate with others to develop new strategies to help benefit student success. It can create new professional development opportunities and allow us to reflect on our own practice. Research is a cyclic process. In the classroom, this methodology works by first identifying a question or problem, creating and testing a possible strategy, gathering the required data, and determining if it has worked. Action research allows for the opportunity to cut the barrier between researchers and participants. This means that in the classroom, the teacher is actively participating while also conducting the research. There are 4 main and general phases to action research. Phase 1 begins by planning your research. This planning phase begins with an inquiry process where a specific research question is defined. For a better and more deeper understanding of the related research, a literature review is done. This phase includes designing the process of the research, determining the data methods, ethical issues, required permissions, deadlines, and setup systems. Phase 2 is action. In this phase, teachers are actively gathering information and collecting data through multiple cycles. The collection of data can include qualitative data such as observations, artifacts, and interviews, or quantitative data such as surveys, rubrics, or achievement scores. Phase 3 includes observation, or in other words, the analysis of the previous phase. In this phase, data is organized into charts or graphs, and teachers begin looking for trends in the collected sample of data. Finally, phase 4 includes reflection. In this phase, a conclusion is made using the data analyzed and a reflection of your own practice is created. This phase allows for the creation of more questions regarding the research conducted, possible changes, and discussing the strengths and limitations. Because this methodology is a cyclic process, the cycle will continue again as teachers refine their craft as better, more creative teachers. Identifying a research question is best done through what the teacher is passionate about. This could include a topic the teacher deeply cares about and wants to learn more about, or perhaps even to create change in the classroom. Yandel Hoppe analyzed 100 teacher classroom research studies where they identified 8 passions as possibilities for finding a research question. These included helping an individual child, improving and enriching curriculum, developing content knowledge, improving or experimenting with teaching strategies and techniques, exploring the relationships between your beliefs and classroom practice, exploring the intersection of your personal and professional identities, advocating social justice, and understanding the teaching and learning context. Cara Bruce created a list of questions as a starting point for teachers or principals to identify an issue that they would like to research. Some of these starting questions include: I would like to improve, I am perplexed by, I am really curious about, something I would like to change, how can I implement, and how can I improve. Characteristics of a good research question. A research question should be meaningful, compelling, and important to you as a teacher researcher. It should engage your passion, energy, and commitment, and it should be important for your personal and professional growth. A good research question should stretch you intellectually and effectively. It should be manageable and within your reach and influence. It should be consonant with your work in that you are able to address it within your classroom. A good research question is focused and not so ambitious, big, or complex that it will require extraordinary amounts of resources, efforts, time, and energy. It should be important for all learners in the classroom, and it should lead to taking action such as trying something new or improving a teaching or learning situation. The ultimate goal of creating a good research question is the ability to acquire the knowledge and understanding necessary to improve one's teaching or the advancement of student learning and/or development. Some examples of teacher action research questions include: what happens to the quality of student writing when we implement peer editing throughout our 9th grade English class? How does the use of computers affect the student writing process in our 4th grade classroom? What happens to student understanding of specific geometrical concepts when I incorporate exploratory exercises into the teaching of geometry in my class? What happens to my students' academic performance in history when I give daily quizzes on homework assignments? And what happens to student behavior in my class when I start the class with a short mind-relaxing activity? Please take a few seconds to think of what you are interested in researching and how you can create a good action research question. When planning your research, you need to choose from one of two action research designs. An action research design procedure is done by the researcher to gather data, either quantitative or qualitative, to improve how their school or other professional settings operate their teaching practice and how their research can impact students' well-being or health. Clark and Creswell described the two action research designs as practical and participatory. Practical action research studies the problems in local practices using individual or team-based inquiry and creating a plan of action. Participatory action research, or PAR, studies social issues that constrain individual lives, emphasizing equal collaboration, focusing on life-enhancing changes, and resulting in changes in the community. How to plan your own action research study. 1. Determine whether action research is possible in your setting and with your colleagues. 2. Specify the problem you want to study. 3. Locate resources to help you address the problem. 4. Identify information you need to examine. 5. Implement the data collection. 6. Analyze the data. 7. Develop a plan for action. And 8. Implement the plan and reflect. Data can be collected and organized using documents and artifacts, field notes, reflective journals, interviews and focus groups, and surveys. There are many other methods to conducting action research, such as observing individuals or groups, using audio and videotape recording, using analytic memoing, using or taking photography, or distributing surveys or questionnaires. When analyzing and interpreting your data, you will want to summarize your findings in an organized way. You will need to look for patterns and themes. After analyzing and interpreting the data, you will want to use the information you have to answer the research question. Qualitative analysis is more common in action research than quantitative. In qualitative analysis, there is a focus on deductive and inductive analysis of data. In deductive analysis, researchers examine data by looking for patterns and themes. develop a hypothesis, and then move on to a theory, while inductive analysis allows researchers to move from a theory and use the hypothesis and data to back up their findings. Inquiry cycles are messy and are not necessarily discrete or linear. They could move much more fluidly, double back on themselves, and take unpredictable routes. Moving from fog to clarity and back to fog can be part of the process. Just because the inquiry is making less sense does not necessarily mean you are going in the wrong direction. How to successfully achieve action research. 1. Triangulate the data. Study the research question from at least 3 separate pieces of data and 3 points of view. Identify at least 5 data sources and construct the research using mixed research methods and a combination of quantitative and qualitative approaches. 2. Sift through and put in order everything you have collected, making notes as you go. As you examine the data, continually compare the data that were collected earlier in the study with the data collected later in the study and use different bases for comparison. 3. Design a systematic approach to analyze your data. Categorize and clarify the data and determine how to arrange the data findings, organizing the data by importance and by frequency. It is best to organize the data based on what you are really learning from the data, not on any assumptions you brought with you to your analysis. 4. Review your information after it is coded. This will help to determine if there is a frequency of certain phenomena or powerful, unusual comments, events, or behaviors that particularly interest you. 5. Let the data influence you. Do not be afraid to let the data influence what you are learning as you go deeper with your analysis. 6. Examine and study your data several times. Speculate and identify repetition as well as similarities and differences. 7. Write continuously to document actions and ideas as they take place. As you proceed through the action research process, make notes. Jot down what you are seeing, what questions are emerging, and what you are learning. 8. Create a visual representation of what you have collected. Look for patterns related to time and sequence as well as patterns related to differences and other factors. You could present them using a grid, an idea map, a chart, or through a visual metaphor. 9. Abstract and distill. State the core of your findings as if you had to summarize the essence of your study in an abstract of 50 words or less. 10. Consult with and involve your students. Students may offer new ideas about their learning or validate what you are finding. Students may also become co-researchers. 11. Take a break away from the study. Sometimes it helps to take a break from the research process to clear your mind and to give yourself a rest. Come back to the process with a refreshed outlook, which will often lead to new understandings and new perspectives. 12. Confer with colleagues. Consider your colleagues' different interpretations and use them to clarify, broaden, and validate the findings. In action research, results from your data play a very important role in developing your plan of action. It is important to base your plan of action off of the resources and data that you have collected over time. You need to be creative and open to try new ideas that may not necessarily fit your personal preferences. You may come up with a plan on your own, or you may use ideas from suggested literature or from talking with your colleagues. Your plan may involve alternative approaches to addressing a problem or to share what you have been learning with others such as practitioners or school communities. With action research, you will implement your plan of action to see if it makes a difference. This will involve trying out potential solutions to your action research question, collecting data, and reflecting on its impact. Remember that an action research study is a cyclical process, so you will need to plan to gather your data, analyze and interpret that data, and reflect on each action that you try. Then you will reflect on what you have learned, the positive or negative impacts your study had, the limitations, and the potential for future interventions to continue your research. The aim of action research includes making progress on school-wide priorities, building the reflective practitioner, building professional cultures, meet the needs of an increasingly diverse student body, enhance the motivation and efficacy of a wary faculty. Achieve success with standards-based reforms, and professionalized teaching. Characteristics of action research. 1. Action outcomes and research outcomes. 2. Concentration on practical issues. 3. Multiple data generation methods. 4. Collaboration with practitioners. 5. A repeated cycle of plan, act, and reflect. And finally, 6. Emphasis on change. The strength of action research include a high level of practical relevance, can be used with quantitative and qualitative data, and the ability to gain in-depth knowledge about the problem. The limitations of action research include difficulties in distinguishing between action and research and ensuring the application of both, time-consuming, and delays in the completion of action research due to a wide range of reasons. In consolidation, we hope you have found this video valuable in learning about action research. Thank you.